being that we are. My question for the facilitators is, what are some of the common themes that you see from people that seek out ayahuasca, and how does that change, or how has that changed? So I guess some of the common themes of the people seeking ayahuasca. Laura.
I think the biggest one is just coming into self-love, and so taking away what keeps you separate from loving yourself completely, and not the good parts that you're willing to look at, but going into the darker parts and finding a way to understand that so that you can love it fully. And then when you love that fully, you come into this whole new awareness within self. So I think that's the biggest thing that I see. It's all encompassing, getting rid of shame, guilt, judgment, expectation, attachment. There's so many nuances underneath that, but all of that is just to get you to the place where you love every aspect of self.
So love, finding self-love. Brad?
Yeah, so what I've noticed is, and I'll piggyback on something Carlos said earlier when he was up here, veterans. I can't tell you how many veterans I've seen come through and sit with ayahuasca and have no light left in their eyes. Nothing, no zest for life, no reason left to be here, just shut down completely. And to varying degrees, anybody who's just a civilian in regular society carries around their suffering fairly well. They do a pretty good job of it, as do we all, right? And so I think, as I mentioned earlier, when people are finally sick and tired of being sick and tired, they can't carry their shame, they can't carry their guilt, they can't project into a world who they think they are anymore, and they're just done, and this is a last resort. And again, I see people come in on a Friday, and they're anxious, and they have fear, and they're concerned with how this is going to affect their life, or if it doesn't work, what the next option is. And by Sunday, they lean in. Yes, it is scary for a lot of people, but if you do lean in and trust the process, you can let go of who you think you are. And underneath that, there's something so profoundly beautiful that it will absolutely floor you. You will be in awe of what you truly are. And when I see these people, again, the veterans are the ones that the shift seems to be the biggest. And I mean, the light is on and it's bright and you can see them shining, and they go back out into the world and it's like a boat wake. They're experiencing love and it's radiating through their heart. And you can hit people with that. Again, like a boat wake, you go back out into the world and it affects those around you, and it is just so empowering and so beautiful. And like I said, I just feel so blessed to be able to do this work, so it's wonderful.
Thank you, Brad. Teffa?
So another common theme is people that experience depression and anxiety, come in very depressive states, have been disconnected of their environment, their families, their bodies. And ayahuasca is a cleanser. It detoxifies your liver, your bladder, your colon, taking out toxins out of your body that is also holding energy from all your life. Everything that you've eaten holds toxins there. So when that gets cleared up, people start to see their life with much more brightness in it, and understanding the things that they already have, and being grateful, being grounded, not having so much anxiety, and it pushes out your depression. You just feel reconnected with what life actually is, which many of the things in the society right now holds us down, makes us anxious, looking at things, what is the next thing, what is the next thing? With this plant, we sit and we learn how to relax into the now moment, and it gives us the ability to be happy in the now. So just like him, we see people come in really, really anxious, in fear, lost on Friday, and on Monday they're a totally renewed person. Their skin changes, their eyes change. It is absolutely magical.
It's transformative, to say the least.
Mm-hmm.
So Chris, I know that you don't facilitate, but you've experienced ayahuasca quite a bit. Besides life change perspective, how has it improved your life and maybe improved your creativity?
Yeah, so yeah, I don't feel like serving is my role for this lifetime. I'm stoked on that because it sounds like a huge responsibility that takes a lot of work. Like I almost feel like I'd have to be like perfect in order to like hold that space for other people, and that's like I'm not there yet. Does that ever do you ever arrive, right? But you still always just polish a diamond. Nevertheless, as an artist, I've offered art retreats in the jungle of Peru 7 times. So I just teach the art, I'm a patient, and I'm there for my students, and then I put them in the hands of a shaman at the time. And it was always such a blessing for me to offer this experience to these people who just, everybody's hurting, everybody's hurting. We're all hurting to different levels, but I'd see my students and there was always like the different levels of hurting, and I'd see the archetypes. There was always that very quiet lady who could barely speak, and by the end of the retreat, she started to just come out of her shell, and it gets like, healed in 1 or 3 ceremonies, but we take like a little step closer and we get to see who we really are if we're lucky enough. I resonate with I think the goal of the video game is just to love yourself. And if you can love yourself, then you just put down your guard because you're good. And then you can love other people. And then if we all do that, then the world's amazing because we're all just loving each other and loving ourselves. As for my path that you asked me, what have I learned? I don't know, a bunch of stuff. I think if I start talking, then I'm just gonna take the rest of the time, and I don't want to hog the mic. But yeah.
That's amazing. Thank you, Chris.
Yeah, no problem.
So that glow and that feeling after that experience or that awareness or that awakening that happens, whether you sit with ayahuasca, sit with mushrooms, a lot of times that wears off, or going into the experience, you're not prepared for it. So that brings me to my next topic about integration. So we talk sometimes about pre-integration, we talk about post-integration, and how we could do certain things in our everyday life to help extend or keep us on the track that we're made aware of. How important is integration in the journey of using plant medicine that is as strong as ayahuasca?
To me, it's my favorite part, and I think it's the most important part. But I think that's relative depending on how you experience the medicine and how the medicine relates to you in your life personally. When we go onto the mat, we get these great awarenesses, and these awarenesses can bring us into this place where it's like we've got it all figured out. But then you go home and you have the same triggers coming at you. And you have to figure out how to navigate those triggers. And so that means your habits have to start, they don't have to, but it's a good idea to start changing your habits that are a little more gentle on yourself, gentle on your body, gentle on your mind, gentle on your spirit. Rest more. Integration is not about how hard can you go. It's about how can you take what she's shown you and turn it into a way of life. And so it does ask you to kind of unravel what you've been doing and find new ways to do life. And that is the integration process, and it's ongoing. And so it's not like something you come out of the medicine, you say, I'm gonna go integrate. It's how do I use this to change my life? And that is the integration. So yeah, I think it's everything. That's why we go there, is to change our lives. And so if you go there and you don't change your life, what did you go there for? And so, yeah, the mat's 4 hours. Integration is the rest of your life.
Thank you, Lauren. Brad, how are you seeing or using integration to help people understand more about themselves?
Yeah, so Lauren and I, shameless plug, we offer we offer integration sessions every other Monday for people coming off the mat, right? And the reason we do, and we offer it at the church as well, but the reason I believe integration is as important, if not more important, than getting on the mat itself is because if you don't find a way to apply what you've learned, it will fade. You've spent an entire lifetime building this persona, dragging around all this heaviness, and projecting that into the world. And when you get on a mat and you sit with ayahuasca, sometimes you can have a complete ego dissolution altogether. And you'll see these, you know, as Lauren mentioned, you'll find these profound states of awareness, and you think, well, I got it licked now. And you go back into your daily life, and those same triggers are there, the same people are around, the same situations. And again, if you haven't found a way to apply it, these patterns that you've built over your lifetime, they know how to function. They don't need your help to show up. Just like you don't need help today to ride a bike if you haven't ridden a bike in 10 years. The body remembers. And the body and the emotional patterns and the thought patterns will remember. So no matter how deep your experience is, no matter how much you let go, if you don't find a way to apply this stuff, it will fade, it will become a distant memory, and you can look back and go, remember when I did that thing once and I felt better for a little while. But you'll be back in the same boat, the same rut, fighting the same fights. And most of those battles are internal. Most of them are going to be in our head. And then, of course, you have this head, emotional thing that gets going, and the head feeds the emotions, and the emotion feeds more of the story, and then here we are in this loop. And, you know, I oftentimes during an integration process, I'm trying to tell people to just, you don't have to do anything new. Just put the shovel down. Just stop digging. You know, and that is often the most difficult part. But if you do apply what you've learned, if you do try any type of integration, pick which one you like. Maybe it's talk integration like Lauren and I offer. Maybe it's just getting out into nature more. Whatever works for you, and these things will change over time, but find a way to apply what you've learned, even if it's incrementally, and your life will forever change for the better.
Thank you, Brent. Tefla?
Yes, integration is crucial for ayahuasca ceremonies. You can drink ayahuasca, and if you don't integrate your ceremony, you most likely are not going to receive all that the medicine is trying to give you and all that yourself has to offer you. We offer preparation so we can guide you in the steps, and for our retreats specifically with ayahuasca, we do a pre-retreat call so we can get you prepared. We talk about the diet and hold you accountable. And for our post-integration, we've created community. Community helps you to maintain the frequency. So we have community gatherings, and we give everyone like a guide for 30 days on maintaining their practices. Practices is what will make you, your yoga, your breath work, things that are internal, not external, like ingesting ayahuasca. Now is your everyday. And looking at your triggers that are going to arise, and now breathing into that trigger and shifting the pattern. Ayahuasca is 40%, 60% you. You do the most of the work. But ayahuasca is known as the medicine that whispers. She speaks. So after you have ingested in your spirit, you're able to have conversations with the sacred medicine who will guide you in the process of integration. And having someone that knows exactly how to hold that frequency and hold you accountable, having a safe space to come back to. And that's why we all create that for the afterwards. Because more here in the United States, it can be difficult to reconnect to nature. You go back, there's TVs, there's phones, there is music, there's loudness. And often all we need is earth and silence and connection. So integration is absolutely crucial for the process.
I agree. And, you know, Chris, you've had some major awakenings and awareness. What is it that you do for your integration besides art? I know art is a huge part of it, but what other things do you do for your personal integration or to keep yourself in balance?
In general, I just want to be like aware of my thought processes, and like at every moment, like you're supposed to meditate and, you know, like sit down and like look at your mind or not think at all. I just want to be in like always present moment if that's possible. So when you do Aya, you just kind of like getting out of these boxes. You put on a million boxes on yourself, and like she takes you out one by one. Let's take you out of this box, and now out of this box, and let's cut this chain, and it's never like, okay, and now I'm ready. No, there's always the next box. So then you go back to the video game of life, and you're like, okay, you're playing it, and then you're like operating, and you threw a box on yourself. Hopefully by now, because I've been so, like ayahuasca just shines the light. It's like, oh, look at that box. And then you're playing the video game, and then you threw a box on yourself, or you allow your mind to attack you. or you see a little stick in the gears of your mind that Aya had shown you in visions. So when you see it, you don't like let it affect you anymore. It's like, oh, there's that box, but the box not me. Get out of here, box. Oh, that little stick in the gear of my mind, that's just a virus that got in, some wrong coding that somebody injected to me at age 5, and what can I do? It's there, I can observe it and be like, okay, cool, thank you very much for being there, and you know, I honor you, little stick in my mind, but I'm gonna just let the gears flow into a place where I'm just like chilling and relaxing and self-loving and not fighting myself and not fighting the world. As for integration, I feel like ayahuasca is kind of like skateboarding. You're trying to get a trick, you know, and the trick is to just be chill. Chill with yourself, chill with others, get out of those boxes. So you gotta just practice a lot and trying to get that trick over, and then you finally get it. And when you get the trick, I don't like doing ayahuasca. I don't like going all the way to, you know, the rainforest with the cold showers, and then you get really sick, and I'm like nauseous for hours and throwing up. Like I'm not, hey, Aya, I love you, you know, but she lives in me now, and hopefully she can whisper in my ear, and I just gotta like listen to her without having to torture myself in order to listen to her. So I've done a lot less Aya in the last few years. I'm not saying like I'll never do Aya anymore because I'm like enlightened and I know everything. The time will probably come back where I gotta hit the mat more and work on something new, but I also super honor and I'm grateful for the moments where I'm just like, hey, things are good right now, things are chill, enjoy it. Don't think that you gotta self-torture yourself to a pulp. You know, pat yourself on the back when things are good too.
That's fantastic. You know, for me, it was like peeling back an onion. I did 4 weekends over the past 2 years, and each one took me from a different place. And, you know, what I found was how to integrate it into my life. I used boxing. So used physical activity, the ability, but I find myself challenged every day. And what I found is those challenges are just new learning experiences for me as well. And, you know, it is a progress. And I feel that as you start working with the medicine more, you find more of a way. I feel like the first time I did it, I wanted to try and control the medicine. And then the second time, I let the medicine control me. And then I finally got to a point where I realized I'm working with the medicine. Not just the medicine, but that's how we walk through our lives. We're working with the environment. We're working with, as opposed to trying to control things or allow things to control us. Being aware and finding that awareness, and then being able to use that. And then when I find these small challenges, that's where it's from. You know, and being able to recognize that, and then being able to choose how I want to react. You know, so integration for me has been extremely, extremely challenging, to say the most. And that's why I went back for so many weekends that I pretty much went every 3 months for a while. Because in the beginning I felt like everything else, like cannabis. You know, give me this and it will work. You know, just like the doctors conditioned us to the medical treatments or the pharmaceuticals. Take this pill, take this. And I feel that ayahuasca is much bigger than that, you know, and that we all move through different stages. And I see that there's a stage of awareness and trauma resolution. I see a stage of shadow work, and then also moving into light work and how we can use this to improve our lives. With that being said, you know, how do you see that it's improving your lives?
I could literally talk about that forever. You know, the biggest thing that I think, maybe I'll just go with where I'm at right now, is I'm all caught up. And what I mean by that is we go to the mat and we're trying to catch up on these past traumas. and we're trying to figure out how to heal these wounds that we've been carrying around for a long time. And through the process, you start healing things one by one. But if you continue the process, at some point you catch up. And then you get to begin to heal in real time. And to me, that's been the biggest thing, is that when I'm going through something challenging, I don't have to carry it with me. I know how to do it right now, instead of let it stick and let it create more trauma, let it create more disease within my body. And so that's the biggest improvement, is healing in real time and not carrying any baggage with me.
Wow. And the tools that you're developing allow that. Brad?
Yeah, so I'll piggyback on what Lauren's saying here, because something I want to point out is that the goal for sitting with ayahuasca is to not get really good at sitting with ayahuasca. The goal with ayahuasca is to come to a point where you no longer need medicine, and you can start to do that healing in real time. Essentially, you see all the patterns doing what they're doing inside of you, and before the trauma is created, you just watch it pass, right? This too shall pass. I think Buddha said something like that. You watch the emotions come and they go. You watch the thought patterns come and they go, and you no longer cling to them. Now, that's not to say that Brad is healed and I'm in some kind of enlightened state. No, this thing still thinks it's a character. It still believes itself to be Brad. So the ego structure just gets more sneaky, you know? It starts to attach in different areas. I still go through all the stuff. But when you start to cultivate deeper states of awareness and you sit with things like ayahuasca to do the cultivation of that awareness, then as life starts to move forward, especially the big moments, even when you haven't been on a mat for 6 months or maybe a year, there's not that clinging to it. And there is that healing in real time. There's the recognition of, oh, this is a pattern. If I continue into this is going to create suffering. It's going to kind of hurt. So I choose not to. Watch it come and watch it go. And then when it's time to get back on the mat, you will get a call. Ayahuasca damn near picks up the phone and says, hey, it's time. You know, you get the calling. And so when you get that call, I'd suggest you listen.
Thank you. Thank you. Tefa?
Yes, I have seen major improvements. When I first started sitting with the medicine, it was being able to deal with big emotions, changes in my life, being able to regulate my nervous system with grace and ease. I saw a huge improvement on how my brain works. I believe that my brain works like 1,000 times better than it has ever. And I have 2 children, 2 dogs, and a whole community, and things flow every day with love and grace. I'm very heart-centered. I feel my heart very open. Move the energy from my mind down into my heart. And it also connected me to other humans. She does this calling on everybody in the space, and we get to activate what it is, the sacred family energy, where we are family with all that is, and all of us are one. And we really feel that oneness with the medicine in our real life. And I feel like that's so important because it takes it out of the etheric. Many people go to ayahuasca to feel that oneness, but then you come here and you integrate it and you realize that we're actually all just one.
Chris, would you like to add anything?
Of course. Yeah, lots of benefits for sure. For me, mostly it's perspective of what is reality. From going into that space where you stop being the ego, mind, avatar, human, and then you like melt into the oneness consciousness of reality. The message that has come to me many times is that I'm just playing a video game right now, but in reality, I'm like, I and all of us are just God, and God just wanted to play a video game that's super realistic, as all of us, fractalized. So then when you see it like that, it's just like, I'm just God playing a game. Good, bad, different variables, you know. At the end of the day, I'm in the hand of all creation, and I am eternity and endless love. And actually, the video game already ended long time ago. Like, I already got out of time and space and high-fived myself and thanked myself for becoming a hurting human and everybody else. But there's no losing the video game because it's like it's a safe place of consciousness. So with that perspective, then I'm just like, cool, let's have fun. I'm just God humaning. Like, how can we make it nicer for other people? How can we spread the vibes? And once again, if we're like truly an emptiness manifesting as physicality, having that perspective makes you vibrate differently. And from that vibration, then you start manifesting more beautiful things. And like just spreading the good vibe forever, it would be like amazing, right? I don't like seeing people suffer. I don't like to suffer, and then I feel empathy for others who suffer. So I don't know. I guess like that's a fun video game to have. Like, let's raise the vibe together.
I love it. I love it. Well, we got a little bit more time, and what I'd like to do is open up the panel for questions from the audience. Is anybody here considering taking an ayahuasca journey that would like to ask a question?
Thank all of you. This has been great. I am relatively new on the journey of plant medicine. I'm going to put you on the spot. Should I go down the path of psilocybin, or should I go down the path of ayahuasca, and pros, cons, in terms of someone really wanting to go into a deep healing experience and grow from this very intentionally? Thank you.
I have a question. Why do you think there's only one path?
Yes, there is many ways to get to the center of your center. It's really important to feel into your intuition, into your call. We're talking here about the call of the medicine. It's like a feeling where you know where you're going. You kind of just let your body lead you into the medicine that is calling you. Because right now you're trying to choose from here. But if you drop here, then that heart will guide you to the exact plant that you need. And if it's ayahuasca, well, it's a little bit stronger on the purgative side. Mushrooms don't make you purge so much. It's a different kind of frequency. In our tradition, mushrooms are seen and known as Niños Santos, which is the saint children. They're more like an inner child kind of energy versus ayahuasca, a grandmother essence. She is going to be a little bit more stern, a little bit more structuring, where she's going to take you and she's going to lead you into those spaces, and it's a physical response for many hours. But you have to ask yourself into your heart, where is my heart calling me? And that's where you should go. After understanding all the knowledge, here is really where your choice should be coming from.
That was such a great description. I learn more under ayahuasca, and I feel I play more under mushrooms, if that makes sense. And it's because my inner child does come out through mushrooms. But, Jody?
Hi, my name's Jody James, and despite the jacket, I didn't necessarily get stuck at cannabis. There are lots and lots of paths. I am kind of anti-cult of personality, right? So I want to be careful. When I make the decision to get involved with ayahuasca, how do you judge the person who gives you the medicine? Don't take candy from strangers. How do I find a safe therapeutic place to explore this?
Great question.
I'll jump in on that one. So, just like any plant medicine at all, you want to have some idea of who you're sitting with. Reputation is important in these spaces. In the States, there are several places you can get involved. There are road shamans as well. But do your research up front as to who you're going to be sitting with, and ask questions about the medicine itself. Where was it made? Was it made local? Was it made on site? Did you buy it from someone? Is there going to be medical staff on hand? Do I even get checked in? Do you want to know what medications I'm taking or have been taking? So you want to be very upfront and honest with the person serving you ayahuasca as to where you are in your journey, especially physically, what you're ingesting, what type of food you're eating, what type of supplements you're on. But I would be very open to digging deep on the questions as to how long have you done this? How many people have sat with you? How much medicine have you served? Where is that medicine made? And are there any questions that I'm not asking that I should be asking? Yes.
Follow up, would it be inappropriate to say, can I talk to someone who sat with you?
Absolutely, I think that's a great idea. Absolutely, yeah. Again, the closer you can get to anybody who's journeyed with the individual that is serving you the medicine, I think that's a wonderful way to kind of protect yourself. Because ayahuasca is, I jokingly say it's the big kid's ride. You know, you have to be this tall to ride this ride because it's going to take a lot of courage. It's a very intense type of medicine, as you were mentioning. What did you say, little Niños? What is it? Niños Santos, right? Like mushrooms are gentle by comparison. Not that you can't have phenomenal breakthroughs, but ayahuasca is a very intense journey, and you do absolutely want to be honest up front, and you want to ask as many questions as possible before you go sit with anyone, for sure.
Great question, Jody. Great question. We have one more over here.
Hi, quick question. What did all of you guys have for breakfast this morning? And red pill or blue pill and why? And then I'll say my answer.
I had boiled eggs and vegetables, 2 coffees. Yeah, and the red pill is the one that shows you the truth, right? Yeah, red pill.
Is the red pill the truth? Is that? Oh, okay. So we're just picking colors. I want to do the truth. If that's.
I had water and tea for breakfast and red pill. Sure.
By the way, I had yogurt and coffee.
I had some watermelon in a shake drink. I like both those.
My answer to the red pill, blue pill is purple.
Funny.
Thank you. I had an egg burrito, a mushroom coffee, and some other stuff. All right, we got another question here?
Hi. Hi, I'm Kelly. I really enjoyed what you said about the objective of ayahuasca isn't to become really good at sitting with ayahuasca, it's eventually to not need the medicine. And so I think there's this tendency that I've seen in the psychedelic space to lean into the medicine as any other crutch. So like, I've sat with Aya 47 times and I have this, that kind of speech that people give. And I have a difficult time having conversations with those people in a way that's like productive or that guides them back into a space of understanding that it is indeed medicine and it's not like this, it's not necessarily meant to be this super consistent part of your life that you're using all the time. So how do you work with people that are in that space to optimize or change their relationship with the medicine back to how it's intended?
That's a good question. So I think part of the challenge with when you meet people that have had 40, 50, 60, journeys. I have a friend that's for 36 weekends, which is 3 drinks a weekend. So do the math on that. It's over 100 sits on the mat. And sometimes the challenge is not that they're doing it for the wrong reason. It's that they may have put down this baggage and then that baggage and then these bad memories and these patterns, but they haven't ever fully let go. So they always have this sense, I shouldn't say always, but they often have this sense that there's something more to learn. And they keep kind of missing that early left turn where if you just completely let go, like all the way let go of the sound of your name, who you think you are, control of anything. And then when you experience oneness, like Chris was talking about earlier, and you recognize that you are the eternal showing up in this little human skin suit to pretend I'm Brad, once you see that, the quest is really over. And at that point, the seeker energy kind of fades away. But until that time where somebody lets go into the abyss, they are going to seek, and there's not a whole lot you can do to turn off their seeking behavior. Whether they're seeking on an ayahuasca mat, they're sitting an hour's worth of meditation or yoga, they are going to seek until they stop doing the task of being the seeker. Yeah.
I saw it like it was my job, you know, and I came into this space from coaching people on how to run their businesses better and be more competitive. So it was very difficult for me to change that philosophy of goal-oriented to intention-oriented, you know, and it took me time. I was therapy resistant for many, many years, many years. But it wasn't until I was able to actually see that myself. So, yeah.
I wanted to add a little something too, is that anybody who builds a relationship with ayahuasca has a very personal relationship with ayahuasca. And so she is more powerful than any one of us sitting here, in the essence of we have a lot of resistance and a lot of limitations. And so to look at somebody and to judge their path and how many times they sit on the mat, or to say I have a hard time engaging with those people, maybe there's something there to look at and say, why am I having a hard time engaging with these people who are actually building their relationship with the medicine? And if she needs to put them in place, she will, you know?
It takes time.
I want to add something to that. So I've never wanted to do like ayahuasca as a beer chugging competition. But being from Peru, and I had a Peruvian shaman, so he's your classic Peruvian macho dude, and you know, he'd be kind and gentle and love me too, but when that second cup would come and I'd be like, oh, I don't know, man. He'd be like, nah, mariconadas, you know, so straight up be like, don't be gay. Take your second cup, you know, like, you know, be strong, and I'm like, okay, cool, which is good, you know, you gotta kind of like be brave and take the next step and go a little bit deeper, even though it's a little bit scary. But then you can be like, okay, well, how deep does it go? And to me, there's been opportunities where I went too deep, and it almost short circuits you. And I realized I couldn't be like, you know, flipping a coin on my consciousness, and what if it falls on the wrong side, and then for the rest of my life, I'm a little bit like tweaked, you know, in a wrong way, which has happened in my family. So certainly I always want to like respect the medicines and not treat it as like, you know, how hard it can go, how much more wisdom can I get, you know, it's not like, you know, you want to self-improve out of love, not out of some kind of like ego competition of how, you know, wise you can become. And yeah.
And those are the things we're taught. Those are the things that we're taught. Those are the lessons. Pablo, one of our Canna warriors right here.
Ladies first. I'm gonna let her go first.
So I just have a question about the idea of microdosing after a journey. So I've done that with mushrooms, and that perpetuates the journey. And I did that one time after I was blessed with having some extra. And so I microdosed it over like 4 days afterwards. And it felt like really deeply integrating. It felt like I would jump back into little spots of importance and gather more information, because like you were saying, when you take too much, you lose the ability to be, it's like you're drunk and wasted, you know, you lose ability. But when you take just enough, or even a microdose, you work with her. So I've never heard any shamans offer microdosing, but I found it to be really beneficial, so I want to ask.
I got no experience with that.
In the traditional sense, we come into having the connection with the medicine, and it's that strong, you're out of the control of it, because that's where you're opening fully your subconscious and you're not being able to hold anything back. So these ceremonial experiences, deep ceremonial experiences, are very important for us to not be like, well, I just put my toe in and then see what happens, and you're not allowing yourself to be released and transformed by the power of this medicine. After you have drank the medicine and you have gone into those spaces, the microdosing can really hold you more if you're experiencing like depression, anxiety, suicidal behavior. just a little bit before you're going to sleep. And of course, you should know who made the medicine and where is the medicine coming from and who's praying over your medicine, because their prayers are going to be with you. But we have seen it very, very good. We do 30-day processes where you microdose for 30 days afterwards with the medicine of our Taita, after drinking medicine with him, after going through a full ceremony. That's how we utilize that process, and it's very beneficial for people's experience in your brain as well.
Yeah, I can second that. You know, if you've never sat with ayahuasca, doing a microdosing regimen may add some usefulness, but it's after the medicine, after you've had a deep experience with Mother Aya. And if you haven't, understand, we're talking about an ancient spirit. Like, there's something there, and if you know, then you know. You haven't sat with her yet, then, you know, when you get an opportunity to, you'll understand what I'm talking about. But once you've kind of opened these channels into these other realms and the communication with Mother Ayahuasca, if you then start a microdosing regimen, and you can even just do tincture. You know, you don't have to actually have the ayahuasca brew. You could do ayahuasca vine tincture, you know, and there's lots of places you can get that as well. But it keeps that line of communication open a little bit longer. And as I mentioned earlier, again, we're not trying to get good at ayahuasca, but if you keep that line of communication open long enough, you will eventually dissolve into the abyss and become one with all things and outside of time and space. And I don't want to say game over, because Chris keeps referring to it as a game. It kind of is a game. But, you know, at that point, seeking kind of ends anyway. But if you're still at a certain point in your path and you feel like microdosing is useful, I would say absolutely lean into it. Yeah.
All right, and our last question, Pablo.
Thank you so much. Just want to say thank you so much for being up here and sharing your knowledge and wisdom. For you guiding people on this amazing journey is just incredible. So I'm 1620 Marine, aka Pablo. 21 years ago, I led Marines into battle in Nasiriyah, and we lost 13 Marines that day. So my biggest fear about using ayahuasca is I've been on a healing journey for the last 21 years, using cannabis, psilocybin, coffee, all types of plant medicines. My biggest fear with ayahuasca is I want to enjoy the healing benefits of ayahuasca, but my biggest fear is I don't want the war and all those traumas in my past to interfere with that healing. And my second question is, does ayahuasca give me the consciousness to really make peace with my journey in war? And this is for a lot of veterans as well, too. We have that fear about, we don't want to go back into that low vibration, that low frequency. So that's my biggest fear, is I don't want to get stuck in that low frequency anymore. And I guess this is the third one, and I don't know, maybe Chris, right? Maybe you could, if you use ayahuasca, are you able to communicate or connect with people you've lost in this life, in that realm, in that world? I would really love to know if that's a possibility. Thank you.
I'll step in. As far as going into your journey and being fearful of facing some of the things you've already faced in real life, that's kind of the path. Is that we have to go back in and face the darkness, but the medicine gives you the ability to face it from a new perspective, from a higher perspective. And that's where the healing comes in, is whenever you're willing to look at it, but from the new lens. And you go all the way through the journey, and then you will get that celebration. But what tends to happen is why we see a lot of people on the mat 47, 87 times, is that resistant comes in and says, no, 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 I don't want to look at this. But the only way out is through means you have to go through. And the through looks like worse. It's almost like if you want to deep clean your house. And let's start in the kitchen. You got to pull everything out of the cabinets. And you got to look at it, you got to see what's going on, and then you can put it back in a prettier way. But for a while, it looks a lot messier when you're pulling all the things out of the cabinets. That's what this journey can be. And so there is no way to say you're just going to have love and light. That's just not what life is. And that's not the experience that this is. But if you want to get to the light, you have to be willing to look at your darkness from the new place that you're currently in and from the place that the medicine can give you. And for me, she like wraps her arms around me and she like it's just like a hug through all of the things she has to take me through. And that's maybe what was missing every time I was struggling before. And so then I can look at it from a new place. And so you will likely experience going through many of the things that you don't want to go through. But your resistance to them keeps you from the healing of them. And so that's my piece on that.
Thank you, Lauren. We are getting close to the end of our time right now. Do you guys have anything you want to add before we wrap it up?
Yeah, I would like to just touch on what you said and respond to your question. We work with a lot of veterans. My husband is a veteran. He's right back there. You can talk to him. We've seen the ability of being able to resolve these traumas that happened while you were in service through the medicine, and detoxifying your system of the old and being able to look at yourself of who you are now and how many wonderful things you have now and the ability that you will have to also share that power that you gain from those lessons there. And also, yes, ayahuasca is able to connect you into the heavens, into the death realms, and being able to look at death a little bit different and understand their path and your own path as a spirit here embodied in a human body. But there's so much more in that eternal connection with all of those that you might have lost physically, but they're still right there with you.
Yeah, I have a weird relationship with death because death doesn't bum me out, and that bums out people who are bummed out by death, which is everybody. It's like, you gotta feel like me. It's just like, once you get out of this, the video game, if we're gonna call it that, it's just eternity, infinity, love, light, bliss. It's really nice on the other side of reality. It's not like this bad thing that happened. It's like, wow, they got absolved from the suffering reality of being a human. I feel, in my personal belief, everything has a purpose, everything has meaning. Those people chose to go through that experience in that lifetime, and you were a character in that, and you shouldn't carry the weight of it, I don't feel. I could probably put you in touch with them. I danced with my grandmother on that side. It was great. I usually work with psychics to communicate more clearly with words with people on the other side. But yeah, everything's okay.
I've been able to connect with the other side as well, with my great-grandfather and my mom. So it's an amazing, amazing, amazing medicine. I want to thank you guys, everyone, for being here today. In the back of the room, I have a number of books on ayahuasca. I have a journal on ayahuasca. I have Brad and Lauren's card, which you can use to get in touch with them on their integration. You guys are driving back tonight, right? So they're going to be going back. But Tefa, how can we get in touch with you?
Our booth is right outside in the Healing Village. We're with Pachamama Munai. I can also bring my business cards to you over here, but if you walk around, we're right in the back. You can learn about the medicines there. We're there to connect you into anything that you would like to know about us.
And you're here doing your artwork, right, Chris?
I'm the last desk down the hall, and I got my brand new book, Shamanic Journey, 256 pages of art and plant medicine stories if you'd like to check it out.
If you haven't seen his art, I highly suggest going and taking a look. Again, I have some info in the back at the table. Our next panel is on entrepreneurship in this space, but thank you all so much for coming out tonight.